What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. All right, so, the slander against Michael Jordan continues. It continues. And I've noticed some people now pushing this narrative that somehow Michael Jordan almost cost the Bulls their second title back in 1992. So they reference Game 6. And in this game, Michael Jordan was benched by Coach Phil Jackson. I believe it was towards the beginning of the fourth quarter, or it might have been late in the third quarter. I don't have the exact time stamp as far as in the game, but it was sometime, I want to say, in the fourth quarter of that contest, right? So what happened was they took out Michael Jordan. What they don't mention, too, is that Phil Jackson took out a lot of the starters, except for Scottie Pippen. And they had the bench guys come in, Bobby Hansen, some other fellas. And the Bulls went on something like a 14-2 run. And that turned around that game, which the Bulls were losing. And the Bulls, I think, wound up winning something like 97-93 or 99-93. That's the score in my head. I can't verify this track. I want to say 97-93 or something like that, or 97-92. But anyway, the Bulls won. But, for some reason, they're referencing this to say, well, look, Michael Jordan isn't this perfect, unstoppable scoring machine. And then they mentioned, well, there have been other games that Michael Jordan shot the Bulls out of contention, right? And to that I say, first of all, that's poppycock, because the last time the Bulls lost 3 games in a row, I believe, was the beginning of the 1990-91 season, which would be November of 1990. That's the last time. They started the season off 0-3. And if I recall correctly, in that fourth game, Michael Jordan hit a turnaround jumper in Utah to salvage that game. And from that moment on, which made the Bulls 1-3, the Bulls never lost more than 2 games in a row. So statistically, when you look at the Bulls' win percentage, consistently at the top or near the top of the winning tally every year in the 90s when Michael Jordan played, the evidence doesn't suggest that he was shooting them out of games. He definitely was not Antoine Walker, to say the least. But let's look at something here. In that Game 6 that people say Jordan, shot the Bulls out of contention, he did have a stretch where he was turning the ball over a lot and had missed some shots, right? And he was not playing within the flow of the offense. Sometimes Jordan could get a little antsy in certain moments. That's not the first time he did that. I also can recall a time when Jordan got out of the triangle offense, and it was in Game 2 of the 1997 first-round series against the Bullets, the last time that they played competitively as the Washington Bullets. But in that game, Michael Jordan scored 55 points. There were sometimes Jordan did get outside the triangle. He wasn't perfect, and sometimes they had to reel him back in. Same thing happened with Kobe Bryant. Sometimes Kobe, his instincts would come through, and sometimes, he would play a little bit outside of the confines of triangle offense, and, Tex Winter would get on Phil. Now, Tex Winter was the innovator of the triangle offense, not Phil Jackson. So that's true. But in that game, Michael Jordan shot 13 of 24 from the floor, 2 of 3 from three-point range, 5 for 5 at the line, 4 rebounds, 4 assists, 4 steals, 1 block. He did commit 4 turnovers. And I believe he scored, I think it was 34 points in the contest. and had the highest game score of 25.3. Second leading scorer on that team was Scottie Pippen with 26. Third leading scorer was John Paxson with 13. Nobody else was in double figures. So this notion that, the bench saved him, nah. Now, Bobby Hansen, I do remember hitting some big shots down the stretch. Bobby Hansen, who I believe really hadn't done much statistically for the Bulls that one season he played for them. I remember him playing with Utah before that, but, at the end of the day, he did what he was supposed to do, which was make some quality shots as a savvy veteran. And also in that series, Michael Jordan averaged 35.8 points, 4.8 rebounds, 6.5 assists, 1.7 steals. He shot 53% from the floor, 43% from three, 89% from the foul line. So, once again, Michael Jordan did his job in that series, right? In those playoffs, the 1992 playoffs, Jordan averaged 34.5 points, 6.2 rebounds, 5.8 assists, 2 steals, nearly 1 block a game, just a hair under 50% shooting for the entire postseason, 38.6% from three, the guy that said he can't shoot threes. And this is before they pushed the line back. 85.7% from the line. He led the playoffs in PER rating. He led the playoffs in win shares. He led the playoffs in offensive box score plus minutes. I believe that's what the stat called. He led them in BPM. He led them in VORP. So once again, he was his statistically dominant self, showcasing that he was, and then when you look at the VORP of 2.8, that shows a clear separation between him and whoever replaced him in the lineup for the entire playoffs. So he was clearly the creme de la creme of those postseason, the creme de la creme of the NBA. Now let's go to LeBron James here, because one thing that LeBron fans love to do is they love to portray that magical 2007 run as if as if LeBron went out there and just was magical every night, dropping 40 and carrying a bunch of bumps. What I think has happened over the last couple of years, I think LeBron fans have somehow merged his performance against that Magic team when he averaged like 38, 8, and 8, and somehow they have conflated that performance, which he lost, to the 2007 run. I think they forget how much help he had in 2007. They think every game was that game 5 on the road in Detroit. They think every game that LeBron had that year and that postseason was like that. When in reality, outside that 48-point masterpiece, LeBron was good, but not great by his normal standards. During that postseason, LeBron averaged 25.1 points, 8.1 rebounds, 8 assists, 1.7 steals. Now, overall, those stats were great, right? As on a per nightly basis. But he only shot 41.6% from the floor. He only shot 28% from three. He shot 75.5% from the line. His PER rating was 23.9, which was far from the best. And, he did lead the playoffs in win shares because he did get to the finals. He did leave in VORP, or value replacement player, but it was significantly less than Michael Jordan's in 1992, 2.2. And I want to reference game 6 of that conference final series. This is the game LeBron fans don't want you to know about. because they want you to think that series ended in Game 5 after that 48-point masterclass performance by LeBron. It did not. The Cavaliers still had one more game to win, and it was at home where LeBron James was stinking it up. He did score 20 points, but he only shot 3 of 11 from the floor in that game. Amongst a bunch of bad shooting nights he had during that playoff run, he shot almost 20 free throws in that game. 20. Matter of fact, in that series, in the 2007 series, LeBron shot almost 10 free throw attempts per game. And he still didn't have a spectacular series. Daniel Boobie Gibson, in Game 6, Daniel Boobie Gibson, a bench player, dropped 31 points in that contest to help seal the deal for the Cavaliers to make it to the NBA Finals. It wasn't LeBron James that was the star guy. It was Daniel Boobie Gibson, who shot 7 of 9 from the floor and a perfect 5 of 5 from beyond the arc and knocked down 12 of 15 free throws. And he scored 31 points coming off the bench. But he doesn't get talked about in Cleveland lore because the Clutch Sports machine has made sure to erase everybody that helped LeBron James along his journey toward his basketball supremacy during his era, right? They've erased everybody. They don't talk about Doniel Marshall hitting big shots, big threes as one of the most effective stretch bigs in his era, playing for Cleveland in that playoff run. They don't talk about Zydrunas Ilgauskas and Drew Gooden stymieing Tim Duncan to his worst performance ever in the NBA Finals. They don't talk about that. They don't talk about Larry Hughes having key plays on offense and defense that year. Larry Hughes, 2 years before that, averaging over 20 points and leading the league in steals for the Washington Wizards. They don't talk about these things. You know what I'm saying? They don't talk about how the Spurs, although they did sweep the Cavaliers in 2007, they don't talk about how that series was very winnable for the Cleveland Cavaliers in 2007 if LeBron James had just simply played to the level of what he played against the Pistons. Because as we remember, against the Spurs, he averaged 22 points a night on 35% shooting and averaged 4 turnovers a night. Or was it 6 turnovers a night? It might have been 6. It's an ungodly total that he averaged in that series. Anyway, salute to Daniel Boobie Gibson for saving LeBron's bacon in that series. Because it had not been for his performance, that series would have went to Game 7 in Detroit. And who knows how that series would have ended. You know, especially that version of LeBron. Also, one other thing. It's a complete and total lie when Nick Wright and others say that LeBron ended the Pistons dynasty with that victory and that 48-point performance, right? Because the very next year, the Pistons were in the Eastern Conference Finals against the Celtics, whereas the Celtics were eliminated in the semis. So it's a total lie, fabrication, another fabrication of the Clutch Sports machine. Anyway, tell me what you guys think.